Hey friend, welcome to Healthy by Heather Brown. Do terms like mental health, intermittent fasting, and buzzy wellness words make you feel overwhelmed? If you don't know where to start with loving the life you already have and letting your good things grow until they become daily habits, I got you, mama. So join me as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved and redefine a new approach to health from the inside out. Think of this space as your girlfriend's group text with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. We promise to give you key takeaways that you can implement right away to pursue health in your mind, body, and soul because God made us that way. Don't stress. Let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown. I'm so excited that you guys have tuned in for another fun episode. And today I get to bring you an amazing lady who I have already been on her podcast. If you have not heard of the Mary Marantz Show, that's who we have on today. And she is also the author of Dirt and Slow Growth Equals Strong Roots. She actually sent me both of her books, and I cannot wait to dig into them. I've already started highlighting and going through things that I think are going to stick out to me. And so we'll get into a little bit of that meat today in the episode. But with all that said, Mary, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Heather, thank you so much. I loved. Like, I have not stopped thinking about our time of your episode on my show. I will have you know, everybody go listen to that episode, by the way, because it will already be out. I've already ordered like protein powder and like we're hard boiling eggs. And
I love it.
I feel amazing. So thank you so much for that side of it. Now I'm so honored to be here for the flip side.
Oh, well, that makes me so excited. And yes, we will link to the episode on Mary's show where I was on her podcast. And y'all, it was such a fun episode. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about our conversation either because Mary's very talented at what she did or what she does, excuse me. I was just blown away by her interview skills, her setup, and then looking through some of her podcast guests that she's interviewed. You guys will not be disappointed by her show. So make sure you go check it out. But with all that said, Mary, if they have not stumbled across my podcast episode with you or you on Apple or iTunes or wherever they listen, will you give them a little bit of a history about who you are as an author and also as a Christian lady?
Yeah, for sure. So I think like the good elevator pitch to sort of know like the background of even the books that you mentioned is that I grew up in a single wide trailer in rural West Virginia in the 80s. Like the very like single tin can sort of trailer with like a lean-to shack of like mismatched wood on the side. We tried to put a roof on it at one point. You can see if you look at actually the bookdirt.com, that is the actual trailer I grew up in.
Wow.
And so from there, I ended up going to Yale Law School, which is not typically how that conversation goes.
Right.
We have heard that story before. We've seen the movie, but I wanted to try to write Dirt because of my faith, through the lens of, can this story, which we've heard so many times, so many different ways, of humble beginnings to the Ivy League or, some other sort of worldly success that's recognized, can a story like this be told where the family doesn't end up necessarily in estrangement? Can it be told through the lens of grace and empathy and sort of an understanding of when parents in previous generations were doing the best that they could? That doesn't necessarily always mean that it was good, but they were doing the best they could with what they had at the time. And so it becomes very much a journey of making peace with your past. And then Slow Growth is kind of, I call them fraternal twin sisters because they very much go together. They're bookend books where if Dirt is making peace with your past, Slow Growth is, well, okay, but how do you stop making your present prisoner to your past? You might have made peace with it, but if you're still trying to achieve and gold star and gold star and gold star, then you're not truly free from it yet. And so that book is very much, the subtitle's Finding Grace, Freedom, and Purpose in an Overachieving World. And it's written from a very much recovering A++ overachiever. And so the podcast, The Mary Marantz Show, the subtitle is actually Slow Growth Equals Strong Roots. And that's something my husband Justin has said to me from the very beginning of our photography business, even 15 years ago. So that's sort of me in a nutshell.
Oh, I love it so much. Well, yeah, when I read that you were from a single wide trailer in your book, I was like, whoa, we didn't even get to that part on your show. So it's very interesting to hear the perspective that you have like you said, describing all that and growing and maturing through it, there was so much of your story that I was intrigued by, because I also grew up with very humble beginnings. I mean, we had a house, like everything was, taken care of, but I would say definitely like it was a one bathroom house for 4 people, definitely very, humble beginnings. And to see how you have I guess my mind is just blown. So how did you end up getting to Yale? Like what did those steps look like? And we're talking a lot this season about emotional health. So maybe you can even talk with us a little bit about how did you emotionally get to transition from, a environment that is a stark contrast to then what you walked into and other people's lived experience?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm going to answer that in kind of 2 parts. The first is like, how does that even begin to happen?
Right.
Somebody's listening right now and they are in sort of like humble beginnings. Like, how do you set your kid up for that, Mary? Like, what's the playbook?
Yes.
When I was writing Dirt, I kind of like tried to follow the dominoes back, right? Like while the dominoes had fallen and landed with me at Yale, like what was the first domino? And when I go back, Heather, something really kind of interesting. So Dirt ends up kind of telling these 2 parallel stories of my story and my dad's story. Because for a long time in the beginning, our trailer was parked on the back of my grandparents' yard. And I'm going to the same elementary school that my dad went to. I'm going to the same Sunday school my dad went to. And he saw a life for me turning out very similar to his if something didn't happen. And so his parents never really pushed education very much. And that was his like line in the sand. So he started bringing home these workbooks that they had at like the grocery checkout line in the 80s, like very dot matrix printing on the cover. Like a kid's face made out of like X's and exclamation points or whatever. And they had them for reading and math and for each grade. And so the theory was that as your child was about to start each grade, you would get that workbook. But my dad was not like really big on like being limited by that expectation. And so getting ready to send me to kindergarten, he started me in the kindergarten book. And when I finished that, we went to first and then second and then third. And so I started kindergarten with 5th grade math and 6th grade reading levels.
What?
And they go, I know. And they go, okay, so she's smart. And labels in our life can speak life or death. And they can be a lifeline to a kid like that. And so they told me I was smart. I'm not, I'm not like, dismissing that there's intelligence there, but they told me I was smart. And so I acted smart and I lived up to what I was being called up to. And I think it just set off this, I ended up in like a gifted program in grade school and then the AP classes and so on. And by the time I made it to college, I just sort of set a goal to only get A's, and I did, except for 1 B+ that I still think about to this day.
Isn't that hilarious? The things like that stick out in your brain.
Yeah. But I think that's what's interesting and what people are probably hearing if you're resonating with that and you're like, oh, I know that feeling, is that the things that helped us survive and things that helped us get out, they can also become our undoing if we don't know how to shut it off, if we don't know how to stop, if we don't know how to stop A++ing our through our whole lives. And so, when I think about the emotional development, that's really the journey of slow growth, because if you can get into the number 1 law school in the country, right? Anybody who's seen Legally Blonde, you think it's Harvard, but they actually reference that Warner's more overachieving brother is at Yale. And that's
interesting.
A little Easter egg that Yale is always the number 1 law school. If you can get into the number 1 law school in the country, which is like, I've always joked, is like Willy Wonka and his golden ticket, like write your own ticket at that point and still feel like you're not enough and still feel like a fraud and still feel like I don't actually belong here. Then we kind of have to go back to the beginning, right? So slow growth, fun fact, actually kicks off with a passage that ends Dirt, one of the last passages in Dirt. And it's, at a certain point, you stop running, breathless and at last exhausted. You double over from the pain of a lifetime spent proving you have run so hard from your story, run out into the world, only to find yourself back at the beginning, this one truth chasing, clawing at your heels that you can't let go of. No matter how hard you run, you can't outrun you. You're always with you, no matter how far you go. And so, are you at last exhausted? That section, I thought we were done. I handed in the manuscript and God was like, cool, that's the first half. And that section kicks off slow growth. And it's this idea of you have to have reached a certain point of you've tried. You have tried to gold star your way into worth. You've tried to highlight reel your way into worth. You have run and not stopped running, and you are at last exhausted. And I lean down and whisper, good. Now the real work can begin. Right? now we can really start to figure out that inside work of who we are and what we were created to do. And none of it is about proving or striving or achieving or performing. And that's like, they say, write the book that you need.
Amen.
Have fun with that,
Yes.
And I had to kind of figure out, like, what does it look like for me to unravel and unstitch from all of these labels that I felt like it's actually a huge win for me that you didn't even know in our first episode, any of this stuff, because it means I don't feel like I have to lead with that.
Yeah.
Anymore,
so true. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, Mary, one thing that and it kind of goes into what you just said. I loved where you said that like the labels can become the lifeline, and it really speaks the power of life or death in your words. And I noticed that the chapter, and I was like, ooh, I can't wait to hear what she means by this. The title of chapter 3 is A Tiny Shift in Words That Changes Everything. So do you mind just kind of maybe even giving a practical takeaway if a mama's listening to this and she's thinking, I know that I struggle with negativity, and that's just the normal. Like everybody gets together at our neighborhood, functions, or at Christmas or at Thanksgiving, and it's just going to be complaining about this, complaining about that. Do you mind just kind of like unpacking a little bit some tangible takeaways she could maybe unearth in that?
Yeah. You know what? I've done, I don't know how many podcast episodes I've done for Dirt and now Slow Growth. Nobody has ever asked me that question before.
Oh, so well, yay. That's fun.
I'm so excited to answer that. So
yay.
That is a chapter in Dirt, and it's talking about how my parents got married really young. And my mom was like super ready to jump. Like my mom was 17 when they got married, super ready to jump right into having kids. And she was kind of pushing for it. And he was like, when I was growing up, it was always told to me, especially by my mom, who ends up leaving when I'm 9, that sort of unfolds in the book, that she, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her, that she had wanted me and he hadn't. And later as a grown up, he'd kind of explain like, well, we were just trying to get like a house, and like get the finances right before we add somebody else to it. But so the way that it was kind of always told to me growing up is that, my dad wouldn't touch her belly when she was pregnant with me, and just didn't want anything to do with it. And in the hospital, like they were not in the room at the time, men were not in the room at the time. And so I'm born, and my Grandma Goldie is a huge force of nature in Dirt, by the way, and in my life. She takes
That's the cutest name too, Grandma Goldie. I'm like, I want a Grandma Goldie.
5'2" and a towering powerhouse in our family tree. So she takes him by the hand. She takes him down the hallway to where they have all the little babies and the plastic crib things. And when they're coming around, you can hear all these babies screaming. And my dad says to her, "Oh, listen to that. I bet that kid of mine is the one in there leading the pack." And they rounded the corner, and I was the only one not crying. Aww. And it was like this, like the ground shifted beneath him, like he saw me for the first time. And from that moment on, Heather, until I left for law school, my dad did not call me by my given name of Mary Ellen, even though he gave me the name. He named me. He called me the kid. How's the kid doing today? Kidster. How's the kid doing? Gosh. And so we went from that kid, which was like this, I don't want this, to the kid as a term of endearment. And it was this tiny shift in words that changes everything. And sweet. So, yeah. And so what I would say is, for all the parents listening, you have to be not only really careful about what you're speaking over your kids, which you probably already are. You're probably paying a lot of attention to the life you're speaking into them. Or it's like something you want to already like work on. But it's very important that you also pay attention how you're speaking about yourself. Because my dad would always say, you can do anything you want. You can go anywhere you want. I mean, not as long as that was within the boundaries of West Virginia, which is a whole other conversation. But he always said, you're going to college. You can do anything you want. But anytime it was about him and changing something that would make his life a little easier, or his business, he's a logger in West Virginia. It's a very brutal job, a little easier. He would always say, kid, let me tell you, this is the way it is. This is the way it was. This is the way it always will be. And I talk about in Dirt how this sort of like osmosis by sound, it can kind of like seep into, more is caught than taught. The way he spoke about his life, those are scarcity, poverty beliefs I have to deal with all the time. I have to catch all the time and go, that's just, this is the way it is. This is the way it was. This is the way it always will be is no longer true. My whole life shows that, but you still have to take it captive every day, every single day. Yeah.
Amen. Yes. And I'm trying to think of the reference. I've referenced this Bible verse often recently because it's about taking every thought captive. And I think that as women, we struggle so often with that negative self narration that we don't even realize is just always back there in the back of our brain. Mary, when you have some of those thoughts come up, how do you try to take them captive? Or like, is it that you pray about it? Is it that you're like, oh, I'm just realizing that that's what that is. And so I'm going to shift my thought pattern, or what does that look like for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is to just catch myself and stop myself mid-sentence and look for the evidence of the contrary. I heard a really powerful quote. I heard Audrey Roloff say it, and she said a mentor of hers said it to her. She said, God's past faithfulness demands our present trust. God's past faithfulness demands our present trust. So when I get really tempted to say, oh, like you always take the long way around. Oh, you always make it harder than it has to be. Oh, like you always like almost hit the goal and don't quite, or whatever the case is. Then I stop myself and I go, okay, I'm going to list 5 things or 10 things or one thing, if that's all I can come up with, where in my past story that has not been true. Like recently, I've just been saying, like stopping myself mid-sentence and say, what are the things that make me feel like I am growing in my capacity to steward this well, or that I am leveling up, or that I am in brand new territory, right? Because I think it gets really tempting to go, this happened this way before, so there must be these like cycles, like seasons in the year. This is like cycles of your life where you grow for a while and then you let it fall off somehow and you have to start over. And it's been very helpful for me to move from being a photographer for 15 years to now being an author, because I get to say to myself, nothing about this have we seen before. Nothing about this. And we say, oh, that's how it turned out then, so that's how it'll turn out now. Like we are in brand new territory. So any rules of that previous world, even any kind of like fears of what if this doesn't, what if I'm disappointed again? I just remind myself. So that's kind of like, I don't know, I guess that's like, as I'm talking, I feel like maybe those are like flip sides of the coin. It's like I look for the examples of what God has done in my life where I am becoming a new person, where my capacity is expanding, while also keeping eyes on the fact of, I just imagine him whispering in my ear, like, do you not perceive it? I'm doing a brand new thing. Like there are translations of that scripture that say basically like throw out all the old rules. Like we're in a brand new place. And so it's like, it's looking back to see how far he's brought me, but also realizing that like we're on a brand new playing field and a new mountain in the horizon, and all the the rule book gets thrown out and we get to kind of have a blank slate and rewrite the story.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
Something like that.
Do you mind me asking, did you become a believer later in life, or how old were you when you became a Christian?
This is a great question. It's sort of like a both and. So I went to Sunday school with my grandma. My parents did not go. I went with my grandma Goldie to a Methodist church, a little Methodist church, for a bunch of years. And then I kind of stopped going for a while. Then I started going to a Baptist church with a friend on the cheerleading squad in junior high. And I was baptized and saved at 15 in that church. But we were never in what I would call Christian culture down there. Like that church really only talked about Nebuchadnezzar.
That's hilarious. Of all the Bible study, stories,
we're talking like ancient guys, weird names, and they would just sort of tell the story. And it was like, that's it. That's the story. No takeaways.
Interesting. Wow.
And it wasn't until 2012, I had a photographer friend who was starting a conference, and I was already speaking at photography conferences. And so I went to speak at her conference, and it was a Christian women conference. That was the first time I ever learned things like, the first night when they said they were having worship, and I thought that was a long sermon, and people start standing up to music and raising their hands. I'm like, what's happening?
You're like, whoa, this is outside my norm.
There's a really funny book called T-Rex Trying. So it's like all the things that would be hard for T-Rex because of his little arms. So like T-Rex trying to play the guitar, sad. T-Rex playing the ukulele, happy. And so I felt like T-Rex trying to worship, that first night. I'm like sort of lifting up my arms, but like not sure, not sure.
Hilarious.
So that's the conference in that world of women. And I went back and spoke year after year. That's when I learned about quiet time and how to study scripture, and that we're called to joy as Christians. None of this was established in my younger church experience. So it's kind of a both and. I don't feel like I really truly learned what it is to have a relationship with God until around 2012. Yeah.
Well, I think that's so cool. And I also think that it speaks to something that I'm surprised actually that I haven't shared much on the podcast this season, but I was kind of the same way, where my mom was like, you wanted to pray to ask Jesus into your heart when you were almost 4 years old. And it's like, and I almost fell out because the same thing happened with my second son on his birthday when he turned 5. He said, he was asking about heaven, and my mother-in-law passed away recently. So he's been asking about getting old and what that means. And so one of the things that he said in the car was like, well, I want to go to heaven. And so I was like, oh, buddy, well, I can pray with you, and, we can invite Jesus into your heart. And he said, no, mommy, I do it. And I was like, oh, well, okay, and he just prayed the simplest little 3-sentence prayer. And I'm like, do I think that he fully grasps the full, the full beauty of the gospel at 5 years old? No. Did I probably at 4? No. But how awesome that God can develop you in your faith. And I think it's like a stepping stone in your faith journey. And I think that so often women think like, oh, well, because like I became a Christian, then I checked the box and it's there. But it's like, no, really, if it is a relationship with Christ, you are going to grow and change just like you do in your relationship with your husband or with your friendships over the years. And so I think that there's a lot of freedom in that. But I also know that, Mary, I'm curious here if this was your experience as well, but I really doubted my salvation for a long time, though, because I was like, well, did I really mean it? And then I'd be like, let me pray and ask the Lord into my heart again, just in case. So what did that look like for you as you kind of grew from, we went to church and like, it was just rigid and not really, very relational, maybe you would say, to now. Did you ever struggle with doubt, or was that not really part of your journey?
Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you said that, because right before you were talking about that, I had said like, oh, 2012 is when I learned to have a relationship with God. And that's actually not true, in the sense of what you said reminded me when I was 4, and I talk about this in Dirt, I felt like God was like a best friend kind of God. And he would come down and draw close to the window. I say close enough to leave fog marks on the glass. And then the next, after he wasn't just there in the nighttime, he was everywhere in the yard. He was in the bird stepping flight off the branch. He was in the way you could feel the sun on your face even when you closed your eyes. He was in the grass down to the very pigment. He was in the cold hard ground, the way that when you broke it up in your hands, no matter how many times you brushed it off, you couldn't forget how it felt. He was color and freedom and fire and dirt. And that's how it started. And actually, Heather, I haven't talked about this very much, but I felt at 4 that God spoke to me about this idea of prophet, of being a prophet. Wow. And I remember thinking, I can't tell anybody that, because that sounds like blasphemy or something. like hi, I'm 4. But like at 4-year-old, I don't know how I would know that word unless maybe they said it about Nebuchadnezzar or whatever.
Yes.
But then when I was going to that conference and talking to my friend, she said that she had felt like God had told her that about her like 3 or 4-year-old son. And she was just like explaining that it's just using words. It's just your mouthpiece or written or spoken words. That God's able to use those words in a powerful way. And that's how it started. And then when I was a teenager and I was going to that church, the Baptist church, I was going more so that I could be successful like my friend's family. So like it was very like a rich dad, poor dad situation where they had the nice house and the nice car, and she got a car at 16. And I was like, cool. So God has his favorites, and apparently it's the Baptist, and apparently it's not the Besses, which is like my maiden name. So I'll go through this so that like I can live a good life like them. Check the boxes like them. Yeah. And it's almost like kind of like a long way around, right? It's like I started off really close with God, and then I went way around thinking it was all these other things, only to be brought back to the beginning, but to be able to see it in a different way. And I would say that's where I am now. Yeah.
That's incredible. I feel like I'm supposed to say this to you, and because I know that you guys don't have kids, but there is a book called Raising Spirit-Led Kids, and it's by Seth Dahl. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but I was not until I just joined a Bible study and they had us do that book. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through with it, but it's fascinating. I don't even know if I agree with everything that it's saying. And honestly, it's like, what Bible study do you do typically that you really do agree with 100% of it? It's probably, but anyway, all that to say, it has blown my mind wide open though to how kids are so innocent and so, like you were saying, almost like so in tune with God because they haven't become like, as adults, it's almost like we grow out of being able to play and have fun and be lighthearted the way that we used to. And so I think that they really can be more in tune with the Lord. And so I've been trying to figure out, like, what does that look like, and praying that the Lord would make it evident to me, like how to teach them to be more in tune with him. And it's been fascinating, even when like they have nightmares, like he talks about saying, you need to tell them if they are scared or they feel like there's something in their room or a monster or whatever it is. He was like, spiritual warfare is real. And so he was like, even if you say to your kids, you just need to say, go away in Jesus' name. And I was like, and literally the next day, Leighton asked me about having nightmares and said, I just feel like something's in my room. And so the fact that I read that book and then that happened the next day, it was really powerful. So anyway, I feel like I got us on a really random tangent, and I know we have to wrap up soon, but thank you for going off in the weeds with me on things that you don't normally talk about, because I think a lot of times that's where like God has us. And it's like someone that listens to this episode is going to need to hear that. So thank you for being willing to share your story.
Yeah, 100%. And it's very confirming to me that, because you had said like, am I really saved? Did that really happen? And like 100% have felt that because I got saved at 15. And then also like, should I never tell anybody about these conversations? Like, would anybody believe you can talk to God that way at such a young age? But it's been consistent. I have never wavered on that. I've never had like, when I'm truly like remembering that, it's always been the same.
That's incredible.
And yeah, I like that like, kids are just, we're in our, like some of our purest forms there before the world tells us what we should be. And the barriers are not up.
Back to the power of words, like what we talked about in the beginning. So that's really cool that it came full circle. Mary, I would love for you, if you don't mind, I had a few more questions that I wanted to get to with you, but I think what I'm actually going to do is just ask you to close us in prayer, if you don't mind. And then I'll make you tell everybody where they can find you and all the things before we head out. But you have a quote in one of your books that says it's safe for you to rest. Mm-hmm. And I think that so often we as achievers we're striving, like you said, and struggling and, wanting that A++ performance. But God doesn't require that of us. He just asked us to rest in him and let him carry the burden. If you don't mind just praying for the women listening to this to feel that, I would so appreciate it.
Yeah. God, I just want to thank you so much as we head into this busy holiday season where we are so tempted to do all of the things and seek perfection. And we're pressured by all the images we see on Instagram of what we should be doing. And we become just this should machine telling us that we're falling short of what it could be every day, that we're disappointing everyone around us, that we're letting everyone down. I pray, God, that you would just infuse us with a spirit of your rest, not the kind of rest that we, the little R rest that we just check off the box is another one of those to-dos we have to do, but a truly soul-soaking, life-giving, just crawling up in your lap and saying, Dad, I'm tired. I pray that you will hold us and show us that none of this is about us holding it together. It was never on us to make things perfect in order for there to be love, in order for there to be memories, in order for our families to know how we care about them. God, I pray that when we think about this word rest and this, it's safe now for us to rest. I want to pray especially for the woman who grew up with a hard story, who grew up with humble beginnings, who has felt for her entire life that safety looks like getting to a place where the throw pillows match and the white kitchen island is styled to match the latest trend from the latest influencer they're following, whatever the case is. I pray for this woman who's doing generational change work in terms of her kids will never know what she has known. They will never see what she has seen, but help her to know deep in the deepest parts of her soul that safety and getting to a place of safety was never about the good jeans or the good outfit or the prettiest Christmas tree or whatever the case is. I pray, God, that you will hold this woman and you will say, I have been with you through all of it, the hard, the muddy, the broken, the beautiful. And even in the scarcest times, all of it has been beautiful. God, I want to pray for Heather and the work that she's doing with this show, the work that she's doing with her platform, that she is showing up and leading women every day into not just physical health, but to get to all of the areas, including that spiritual health, this mind, body, spiritual health that we know that we need to live a life that you meant for us, this abundant life that you had for us. This is not about more things. This is about us drawing close and saying, the use of my gifts, the use of my story in service to others for your ultimate glory, God, for the rest of my life. That's it. Let me let go and unravel from all of these things I have to do, this perfection I have to hold together, this striving that I have lived my whole life. Let it all unravel and fall away. And let this be the new territory, this brand new spacious ground where I look out into the horizon and I say, what do you have for me today, God? That's it. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Mary, that was really powerful. And I know that women are going to just really resonate with that. So thank you for being such a light and joining me today. Do you mind just telling everybody where they can find you online and then we'll wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big central hub, the easiest hub is marymarantz.com. That's marantz.com. And from there, you can find the 2 books, or you can go directly to thebookdirt.com, slowgrowth=strongroots.com. You can find the podcast, or go directly to the marymarantzshow.com, and you can search and find Heather's episode, listen to the flip side, the first part of this conversation. And then the biggest thing I think that would be super fun for people, for your listeners to do, is with Slow Growth, where we talk about this most put together woman in the room, the woman who's always performing. I go through 5 different types of the woman always performing in that book: the masquerader, hiding in plain sight; the performer, always on her toes; the illusionist in the distance, waiting for one day when she's perfect before she can even start; the contortionist, who twists herself up into tiny tether knots because to contort is easier than to be criticized; and the tightrope walker, who lives for the next high. Her days are sort of only as good or bad as the latest good thing that's happened. And so if you go to achieverquiz.com or marymarantz.com/quiz, you can take the quiz. It takes like 2 minutes, and it will not only tell you your type, it will tell you that type's strengths, where you get tripped up and stuck moving forward, and how you actually start to let go of all this achieving and lean into purpose. So achieverquiz.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you guys, I'll also put that down in the show notes. So you can just scroll down and click the link and it'll take you to all Mary's books and wonderful resources, her podcast. But Mary, it was a joy to have you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you guys, if you got some nugget out of this episode, please screenshot this episode, share it to your Instagram stories, tag me and Mary. And I would love for you guys to be challenged today just to think about maybe some lie that is in the back of your brain that you notice keeps coming up for you. What is that like voice that you don't like that's back there or causing that negativity? How can you start to flip the script and take every thought captive? And if you want to, message me and Mary what that is, and we'd love to pray for you in that. And also I always want to challenge you guys just to take that next step, because the Lord just asks us to trust him in faithfulness one step at a time. But if we're not willing to do the work, then like we just sit there and we don't want to be idle. We want to really keep growing in him. Can y'all believe it? Ready or not, the holidays are here. I'm making my list and checking it twice. I love sharing my favorite gifting ideas with y'all, of course. Haverhill Jewelry is a perfect holiday gift. Their jewelry can be personalized with birthstones to represent family, friends, or for yourself. I especially love their classic birthstone necklaces, and I really think you guys will too. I recently received mine with my boys' and hubby's initials and birthstones. It's super sweet and very special. Haverhill Jewelry is made of solid 14-karat gold and made to be worn every day. You never have to take it off during exercise, the shower, or sleeping, so you don't forget to wear it. So I love that part. Links to shop are in the show notes, or you can check them out at haverhill.com. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown Marriage Corner. Eric, everybody is freaking thrilled to have you back.
I love the Marriage Corner. Always fun to record with you. And I think today's episode is going to be especially fun.
For sure. Those of you that liked my U.S. citizenship test, and what was the other trivia you gave me? It was like, cities, and then we do capital cities and
capital
states.
Cities, yeah.
Yeah. If you guys like those episodes, which we can link back to, you're going to love this one.
I'm a big believer in always asking random questions, and that's one of the things that Heather and I do. Is whether we're on a date night or out with friends, I like to ask just random questions to not only Heather but also our friends, just to get conversation going. But I also do like a good trivia question as well too. So with Thanksgiving coming up, I thought it would be fun to do a little turkey trivia 2023.
I like all the T's too. Good alliteration.
Thank you. It was kind of a tongue twister, but I have 5 Thanksgiving trivia questions for you. And if you get 3 out of 5 questions correct, I will consider you a Thanksgiving expert.
Thanksgiving trivia 2023 expert.
That's right. That's right. I feel like we should put some stakes or like some, have some skin in the game that if you get more than 3, I have to do something on Thanksgiving, cook the turkey or do something like that. Do you have any thoughts on, putting some skin in the game? And if you don't, then something else.
Okay. Well, Black Friday obviously is like my Super Bowl for the, Healthy by Heather Brown shopping community. So I feel like maybe I should get a bigger budget on my Black Friday, Cyber Monday spending if I get 3 out of 5 right.
I will give you $20 to add to your budget if you get more than 3 correct.
Hey, with $20 on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I actually could probably do a lot with that.
You can do some damage with an extra $20. All right.
Perfect.
So $20 on the line for Turkey Trivia 2023. All right.
Woo woo.
All right. Are you ready for the first question?
So ready.
All right. First question, and this is a little bit out there, but what did President Coolidge, Calvin Coolidge, famously receive as a gift? Now, I'm going to make this a little bit easier, so this is going to be multiple choice, okay? So what did President Calvin Coolidge famously receive as a gift? Was it A, a silver platter, B, a bearskin rug, C, a gold-plated pumpkin pie, or D, a live raccoon?
Well, okay, for those that are not history buffs, was he like president during one of the first Thanksgivings, or how is this related to Thanksgiving?
So he was not, but what Calvin Coolidge is famously known for, extremely conservative when it came to financial issues within the United States. That does not help you out with this question, but that is about all I know about Calvin Coolidge. Very conservative.
Okay, got it. Okay, so my options are a gold-plated pumpkin pie.
Let me go through. A, silver platter. B, bearskin rug. C, gold-plated pumpkin pie. Or D, a live raccoon.
I'm going live raccoon.
Is that your final answer?
Oh.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes!
All right. You're moving on to round 2. 1 for 1. That was pretty impressive. All right.
Closing in on my bonus for Black Friday.
All right. 1 for 1. You have to get more than 3. So you have
more
to get
than
4.
3. Oh, I thought you said 3. Okay.
So I said you'd be an expert if you get 3 or more, but to get the 24. All right. All right. Question number 2. Which Native American acted as an interpreter at the first Thanksgiving? Was it A, Tonto? Was it B, Squanto? C, Pocahontas? Or D, Sitting Bull?
Oh, these all sound familiar. So I know that they are all legitimately fairly famous Indians throughout our history, correct?
Native Americans.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Native Americans. Sorry. Okay. Interpreter. I don't feel like it was Pocahontas. Sitting Bull does sound familiar. What was the S one?
A, Tonto. B, Squanto.
B, Squanto.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
We are off to a flying fast start.
Heck yeah.
2 for 2.
Fourth grade history is coming back.
Very impressive. Squanto acted as the first interpreter at the first Thanksgiving. So there you go. 2 for 2. Are you ready for question 3?
I'm ready, but I hope you guys are taking notes so that you can bring these questions out at your Thanksgiving table.
All right. We're getting into the big money round questions. All right. Stakes are getting larger. All right. So this is right up my alley, but I don't know if it's up your alley. What NFL team has played almost every Thanksgiving since 1934? Is it A, the Detroit Lions, B, the Green Bay Packers, C, the New York Jets, or D, the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Oh my word, I have literally no idea. Okay, so process of elimination, I'm kicking out the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
and why are you kicking them out?
Because they're in Florida and they feel like a newer team and it feels like a steeped in tradition type thing. So That's probably all a lie, isn't it? I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Actually, your thought process is sound.
Thank you. Okay. So then you gave me the option of the Green Bay Packers, the what?
New York Jets or the Detroit Lions.
I'm going to go, oh my gosh, I feel so torn. Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions, New York Jets. I'm going New York Jets. Dang it! Is it Detroit Lions?
It is the Detroit
Lions.
Lions.
I should have gone with the first instinct.
Oh, man.
Dang it.
I am glad that we missed that. It's going to make these last two questions much more interesting.
Dang it.
And I think they are a little bit more difficult. So,
pressure's on.
All right, 2 for 3, 2 questions to go, $20 on the Thanksgiving budget on the line. All right, question number 4. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Hold on, I got to read this again. What item did the Native Americans, or what food item did the Native Americans and colonists not have at the first Thanksgiving? Did they not? They did not have at the first Thanksgiving. Was it A, corn? Was it B, turkey? Was it C, lobster? Or was it D, seal?
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like I want to go lobster or seal, but that makes me, but it's like, well, one of them had to be there. Huh. This is really wild. I'm going to go that C, lobster was not there. Oh!
It's a good guess, but where was the first Thanksgiving? In what area?
Plymouth Rock.
Plymouth Rock, that is correct. In Massachusetts.
So they had seal.
They had seal, and also what is the East Coast known for?
Lobster rolls.
Lobster. And actually, what they did not have at the first Thanksgiving was
turkey.
Dadgummit. That is correct.
That was such a trick question.
All right.
My $20 is gone.
2 for 4, but you can still have the title of Expert of Turkey Trivia 2023 if you get this last question correct.
Woo!
If not,
I'm sweating the coffee out of my brow.
yeah. All right. So final question. What city is home to the oldest Thanksgiving Day parade? Is it A, Philadelphia? Is it B, New York City? Is it C, Plymouth, Massachusetts? Or is it D, Boston, Massachusetts? The oldest Thanksgiving Day parade.
Surely it's Plymouth, right? Oh, it's a trick question, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, this is so hard.
Oh man.
I mean, the famous one is in New York, but do I think it's the oldest? Gosh, the famous one that's on TV is in New York,
Would you like
right?
to use the 50-50 where you can narrow your options down to 2?
Oh, heck yes.
All right. We're narrowing it down to. All right, so we have gotten rid of New York City and we have gotten rid of Plymouth, Massachusetts. The final 2 are Philadelphia and Boston.
Ooh, that is so hard. Philadelphia and Boston. Okay, I'm going with, I'm so scared. The Boston Bruins, Boston.
That is incorrect. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home to the oldest Thanksgiving Day parade.
Dang, who knew that? That was very impressive.
You started off so strong, and I'm not going to lie, those last few questions were a little difficult, but you know what? That was fun Turkey Trivia 2023. I hope many of you who are listening to this can hopefully bring some of these questions to your family, and I think we're about out of time.
That was super fun. Great job, Eric. You always do bring great questions. So here is what I would love to do. I want you guys to think about one question that you can bring to your Thanksgiving dinner table and what you're going to ask them. It can be from us or it can be something you come up with yourself, but it's always nice to have those thoughtful conversations when you're around those you love. We love you guys so much. Happy Thanksgiving. We are incredibly grateful for you listening here. Please hit that 5-star review or 5 stars and then leave us a review, and we'll see you next Tuesday.